Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. The apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." The Lord replied, "If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you would say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and planted in the sea,' and it would obey you. Who among you would say to your servant who has just come in from plowing or tending sheep in the field, 'Come here immediately and take your place at table'? Would he not rather say to him, 'Prepare something for me to eat. Put on your apron and wait on me while I eat and drink. You may eat and drink when I am finished'? Is he grateful to that servant because he did what was commanded? So should it be with you. When you have done all you have been commanded, say, 'We are unprofitable servants. We have done what we are obliged to do.'" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
This is one of the few times throughout the course of the year that I'm going to ask you for money, and as sort of an apology for that, I'll keep this fairly short. It's that time of year again where we take part in the annual Bishop's Appeal for Vocations, and yes, that part is about money, which I'll get to in a little bit, but money isn't the only way, or even the most important way that you can support Vocations, the priesthood here in the Diocese of Lincoln. I'll give you an example that hit very close to home. Growing up, I wanted to be a priest. The earliest I could remember was in second grade when I received my first communion. I attended grade school in a very un-Catholic, anti-Catholic actually, town. But when it came time in second grade for us to dress up as what we wanted to be when we grew up, I made the bold choice, and I have no doubt that plenty of the school staff had condemned 7-year-old me to hell in their minds, but I dressed up as a priest. And that's the climate that I grew up in my hometown. But as most boys do, they grow up and they discover girls, and so did I, and the goodness of marriage, and I wanted to have a big family because I grew up in a big family, oldest of 7. In high school and in college, I had a girlfriend, and on top of that, I didn't think that I was good enough or smart enough or holy enough in order to be a priest. That was out of the question in my mind. Yet the crazy thing is that all throughout my last 2 years of high school and my first 2 years of college, I was working at a seminary. I lived 5 miles down the road from St. Gregory the Great Seminary, where all of the seminarians in our diocese go to undergraduate school for the priesthood. So for 4 years, I was surrounded by guys my age studying to be priests. Guys from all kinds of different backgrounds and academic levels. And still, nobody really said anything to me about whether or not I was thinking of becoming a priest. But that changed one day. I know I've told this story before, but it's an important one in my life. One of the contributing factors to me being here right now. But I was working outside as I was working at the seminary. I was planting flowers. There's sort of a long curving driveway to get up to the main building of the seminary, and at the end of that driveway there's sort of a turnaround, so there's an island in the middle of that circle drive, and I was planting flowers in that island. And I saw Father Fulda, who is now Bishop Fulda, the Bishop of Fargo, North Dakota, and he came out of the seminary and he walked all the way down this long sidewalk that got to that circle flower bed. And I measured it on Google Earth. That sidewalk is 64 yards long. And it's just to give you a picture. And Father Fulda never did anything quickly. It took him 40 minutes to say a daily mass, which for me is 16 minutes usually. It took him an hour to eat a meal, and we weren't allowed to leave the cafeteria until he was done eating. So he never did anything quickly, just to make this long, awkward walk out to me as I was working in the flower bed. And we made small talk for a little bit, and he sort of just stopped, and he simply said, "You should go to the seminary. You would do well there." And then he turned around and made the long, awkward 64-yard walk back into the building. And it was just a very brief, simple word of encouragement, and it stuck with me. And it got me thinking. Shortly before I graduated from college, I had to buy a suit. I had to buy a suit because I was starting to apply for jobs. I was almost done with my architectural engineering degree. And it was time for me to start planning for the future. And I was having this battle in my head, in my soul. Should I just go to the seminary, or should I try the real world first? I have this degree that I'm almost completed. Would it be a waste? And that battle in my head sort of materialized into this choice that I had to make. What color of suit should I buy? And that suit became sort of a physical representation of this sort of decision, this choice that I had to make. If I bought anything but black, in my mind, that told me that I wasn't going to the seminary. You see, for the first few years of the seminary and undergraduate school, the dress code, at least back then, it was a black suit with a white dress shirt under it and then a black tie and black necktie. And we sort of looked like Jehovah's Witnesses, to be honest. But that was our school uniform. So if I bought a black suit, that sort of, it would have meant that I left the possibility open to going to the seminary. Not just for job interviews at engineering firms. And like I said, that suit sort of became emblematic in my mind, the sign to myself of what I needed to do. So what did I do? I went to Von Maur in Lincoln, and I bought a beautiful silk, custom-tailored Ralph Lauren suit. I loved that thing. It fit me perfectly. I was about 30 pounds lighter back then. It was awesome. It felt comfortable. It made me feel invincible when I wore it. It was like $600, which is an astronomical amount of money for a college kid circa 2002. I Googled that one also, and it ended up $600 back then was $987 today, so it was a very nice suit. And the most important thing about that suit, it was blue. In navy blue, to be exact. So I had made my decision to enter the workforce, not the seminary, until a couple of months later. I was sitting in front of, I was working at the computer in my mom and dad's living room at the computer desk, and I can't remember what I was doing exactly. I think I was working on my resume or maybe submitting a job application or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I remember that my mom was there, and I turned to her and I said, I think I just want to be a priest. And my mom said, I know. And a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders that I'd made it official by actually telling someone about it, this battle that had been going on in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. And I thought, Mom, you could have told me that before I bought the suit. The point of me saying all this is that, one way that you can support Vocations is to not be afraid of saying something to a young man, because you might see something in them that they don't necessarily see in themselves. Just like Father Folda saw something in me that I never saw in myself. This is the first way in which you can support Vocations to the priesthood. There's a funny end to that suit story, if you'll indulge me for a little bit, the blue suit. So I had the blue suit, gave it to my brother, and then it came time for my first appearance in public as a seminarian. Now, I was still in school finishing my architecture degree. It was all-around school to get an associate's degree, and finished in June. And I had to go to the priesthood ordinations on Memorial Day weekend dressed as a seminarian. And so I didn't have a suit to wear. I kind of had a suit to wear. I had a black suit that I wore for my confirmation when I was 14. And I remember in my confirmation pictures I looked a little goofy because it's, a little kid and it was way oversized. But anyways, the sleeves of the suit jacket for this suit came up to about like that. And that's, I have sort of abnormally long arms. That's why my sleeves are usually rolled up when I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. Compared to my neck size, my arms are really long. And so my mother, she came up with so on top of not having a black suit that fit me, I didn't actually have a long sleeve white dress shirt that fit me either because of that. And so my mom came up with an idea. So she, to make it seem like I both had a suit and a white dress shirt that fit me, she cut the bottom half of the sleeves off of a white dress shirt, and she sewed them into the sleeves of the suit so that they came out to the end. And it gave the illusion that the suit coat somewhat fit me, and then I was wearing a long-sleeve shirt that fit me, even though I was wearing a short-sleeve dress shirt underneath it. It was ridiculous, and of course, later that summer I bought clothes that fit me to go to school with. But my mom kept that suit jacket with the sewn-in sleeves, and she still has it to this day. But back to the relevant topic here. Supporting vocations. The second thing that you can do to support vocations is to pray for vocations, obviously. First, we need to pray for holiness among married couples and families. Everybody comes into this world, whether good or bad, through some form of family. We begin to learn our vocation in the context of family life. And today, family life isn't what it used to be. It's under attack. And it's all too convenient nowadays to sort of take family life or married life seriously. A lot of people don't even bother getting married. So families need our prayers. Also, pray for those who God is calling to the priesthood and religious life, because trust me, it is an extremely difficult call to hear, let alone answer. The reason why there is a shortage of priests and religious sisters and brothers in our country is not because God is not calling them. It's because they can't hear his call, or they're too distracted to take that call seriously. You know, the young men of today, they have a lot of obstacles in their way. Even those who try their hardest to not be, there is a real temptation to feel like the priesthood is an impossibility. I remember 20 years ago thinking that I was not holy enough or smart enough to be a priest. I can't imagine what it's like now. The culture has so many young people hooked on sex and hooked on money and hooked on popularity and hooked on the idea that God isn't real or that Christianity is backwards and not progressive and not the right mindset to have in the 21st century. I would think that the decision to go to the seminary now is as difficult as it has ever been in the history of the church. So pray for vocations. Pray for vocations to holy marriage, to the priesthood, to the religious life, and do it daily. And then there is, of course, the whole reason that I'm up here talking about this stuff today, the bishop's appeal for vocations, another way that you can support vocations. It costs $60,000 a year to educate one seminarian. That's a lot. But maybe put it in this mindset, it also costs about $60,000 a year to go to medical school. And if we invest in that sort of education for our physical health, what should keep us from investing in an education for our spiritual health? This should be the easiest campaign in the world. The goal should be the easiest in the world to meet, because every single family in the Diocese of Lincoln should be involved in supporting vocations to the priesthood. These are the men who will baptize your children and grandchildren. They will teach your loved ones. These are the men who will preach the gospel and bring you the Eucharist. These are the men that will receive marriage vows before the Lord and administer to the sick and to the dying and to the dead. Every single one of us owes so much to our priests. And perhaps one of the young men in our seminaries will be the priest that gives me my last rites on my deathbed. If you can't give this year, I understand it. It's been a tough year for a lot of people financially. Still, stop by to the narthex and pick up our Vocation Poster. It's got all of their names, where they're from, where they're studying, and their pictures, so you can pray for them. Put it up on your refrigerator or somewhere in your house to remind yourself to pray for our seminarians each and every day. You'll find the pledge cards in the narthex, as well as this brochure. We aren't supposed to take the card home with us. They're supposed to stay here. They'll be here for a few weeks, so you can bring a check later on. The checks need to be made out to the bishop's appeal for vocations. Our goal this year for St. John's is $2,850. The goal for St. Germanus is $2,060. That really isn't that much at all. It's less than, 1/20th of what it actually costs to educate one seminarian. So, as always, to show my support and my commitment to this cause, to this campaign, I will be the first one to sign my pledge card, and I invite you to join me.